All right, so I want to continue my little smart mapping adventure here and talk a little bit more about some smart mapping tools that you can use in your own apps, right? So let's go ahead and just dive right in and take a look at how you can figure out a good symbol to use for your graphics when you add them to the map. Okay, so first off, let's go into the API reference here and let's go under smart mapping. And if you come over here, you're going to find some stuff under symbology. Now, there's quite a few in here. Let's take a look at descriptions for something like color, for example. Right, so it's an object containing helper methods for generating optimal symbols for data-driven visualizations. So this isn't exactly what I want to use. However, it is something that could be useful to you inside your applications, right? So it's basically going to return back a scheme, and we'll get, let's see here, we're going to see, it's going to be this type color scheme here, I believe. Let's come up here. Well, let's go over here. All right, so if I do get schemes, it's going to return back a color schemes, and it's going to have a primary scheme and secondary schemes along with the base map ID that I gave it, and so forth, right? But again, if we look at the color one here, it's for data-driven visualizations. Oh, come back to the top here. There we go. Data-driven color visualizations. Same goes for dot density, right? It's going to be used for dot density visualizations. Again, we have a way to get the heat map information. So we have a heat map scheme. And then we have location. All right, so this is the one I'm really going to be just playing around with because it's simple to use. And it's something I think an end user might actually want to use for their apps. Again, these other ones here are going to be more like if you're using one of these renderers and you want to get the colors that are used by the renderers, then you can go ahead and use those colors maybe somewhere in your app. Maybe something like some toolbars or something where you want to maybe have buttons that are going to coincide with some colors or values on the map, and you want to tie all that together and make just a really cool looking map. So maybe that's something I'll cover in the future, but to keep it simple, we'll go with just regular location only visualizations, right? So I'm going to go ahead and copy this here, that path, and let's start working over here. Well, first off, let me show you the app. I should do that first. Okay, so I have a very basic app here, and I'm just adding graphics onto the page, right? On click, I'm going to create a new graphic. I give it the map point. I create an empty, simple marker symbol, and then add that graphic to the map. So that's all I'm doing here. Nothing too special, nothing too crazy. But again, this might mimic something that end user might do because you might have some data coming in your application somehow, some kind of user interaction, and you're just going to be adding some points to the map, right, randomly. I would highly recommend, though, if you're doing something like streaming data in somehow from like a WebSocket or something else, you maybe look at Streamlayer, or you look at if it's data that gets updated every I don't know, minute or something like that, or maybe even 10-20 seconds, you look at a client-side feature layer. But a lot of people just like working with graphics and defining things individually, which is fine. You can do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what something like this is going to look like. So we'll go ahead and import from, oops. There we go. And I want the get schemes method. Get schemes. Here we go. Okay, so now what I want to do is before I create my graphic, I'm going to call this method get schemes, right? Now there's clone scheme, so I don't want to actually clone a particular scheme. I actually just want to get it first, right? So the parameters it's going to need a base map. I could pass base map theme, right? So if it's a non-Esri base map, so like your own custom vector tile base map or something like that, I can give it a base map theme, which would be light or dark. And then of course I need the geometry type. If you're doing this in 3D, it looks like it takes a scene view. There's going to be some other things taken into consideration if you pass a scene view, and also if you're going to be passing world scale. And these two here are only for 3D visualizations, right? So I'm not worried too much about that right now. I really just going to pass a base map and my geometry type. So let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say my, and I only care, well, let's do this. Schemes is going to be equal to get schemes. And I'm going to be passing in a base map. And that base map is going to be coming from the view. I'm sorry, it's going to be coming from the map. So let's pass the map base map. And my geometry type is going to be coming from my map point, from where I click on the map. Map point.type. There we go. So let's go and just console this out and see what it is that we're going to get. I want you to see my key. All right. So let's go and console this out now. All right. So we have in this object return, we have a primary scheme, which is going to have the color. It's going to have the opacity and the outline defined. And it's going to have the outline color, size, and we have secondary schemes that we could use as well. And those are going to have the very same thing, right? The colors are going to be slightly different. I believe this one's going to be, most of the time, this will be orange. And this one's probably going to be white. Yeah, so same as the primary. Actually, no, it's different from the primary scheme. Okay, let's go ahead and take advantage of that now. So how can I use this? All right, so let's come over here. And we're going to say it's going to be the schemes dot primary scheme. So this value I get can just go right into the constructor for my simple marker symbol. And there we go, just a small black dot. All right, so okay, so let's come up over here. Let's change this to maybe the let's look at what are the values for a base map. Look at the map, look at the properties, look at the base map. Here are the different strings. So we have imagery. So let's take a look at that. Now it's white, so it's not a black dot, but it's gonna be a white dot. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so how about if I add the base map gallery widget to this and I start changing things up, right? So let's go and bring that in. Okay, so now, right, so I've got imagery defined. I can start adding points to the map here. But if I switch it to something like navigation, now my points are going to be black dots on the map. And I think if I go to the dark gray, it's going to be more of these dark black dots. So the only time I think I get the white dots on the map is when I'm using imagery. Every other time, it's going to be these darker, they're like a gray color drawn on the map here. So that's what it's going to look like every time. I think if I come over here, it's still going to be darker gray. Right, yeah. So this is going to help you just kind of figure out colors for just simple locations are going to work out well for that particular base map that you're using. And again, this may not be for everyone, like I said, because these are colors that it's just based off the base maps that we have in the API. If you have a custom vector tile base map with some custom colors as well, this might not be the optimal solution for you. But for just simple locations, this is going to be something that's going to work out pretty well for that particular map that you use. It's also, like I said, doesn't take into consideration that if I change my base map at runtime, it's not going to, I would have to go through and update the symbols for all my graphics again on the map, which is why I said if you're doing something with a lot of graphics like this, a feature layer, a client side is probably a better option than just dumping everything into a graphics layer. This is really more so for just one or two points on the map, or a handful, not a lot of points on the map, right? That's not really what the graphics there is supposed to be meant for in a case like this. Okay, so that was just a quick look at how you can take advantage of the smart mapping tools in the API to help you out with basic simple locations and getting the color for those symbols to use in your map, right? Like I said, this isn't really something that you should be using for a lot of data, right? You just want to use it for real quick basic points. Maybe you click on the map and you want to just kind of mark something there, almost like the sketch widget, right? But this is kind of like your own stuff that's happening in some interactive way, a way that you can use it. Like I said, I didn't cover these other ones because these are all part of the data-driven smart mapping tooling, and I just don't really have a good example for that right now. But I'm sure I can come up with something at a later time. If you're really interested, just let me know. Again, check out the documentation and the API for all these smart mapping tools you can use inside of your own apps. All these tools are also used in the online map viewer, so we know we're dog fooding everything in our applications online. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.